Hi, welcome to Painter Paint. My name is Ross, and today we're working on head proportions. This video is a follow-up to a previous video that discusses how to find the right location for the eye placement and how to size those eyes using a couple of figure proportion guides. Today we'll use those guides as we draw. I'll demonstrate drawing a simple head, then how to size and position those eyes on that head as we draw. Alright, let's get started. Not that it's really critical for this exercise, but let me tell you the supplies I'm using. I'm using a 2B graphite pencil for this demonstration, and I have my acrylic eraser out just in case I need to erase. Let's begin drawing the head. I'll start by drawing a circle to set things up. We can use a circle to start our drawing as this shape helps set up the size of the head. The circle represents the cranium or brain case of the head and is important when addressing the larger shapes. But for this demonstration, we're just using it to set up the height-width relationship of the head. Alright, next we can draw the jaw. Just to set that up, I'll mark the bottom of the jaw here, and then I'll draw a little triangle just to indicate where I want to place the chin. Now I want to find the width of our head, and to do that I'll compare the width to the height. The width of our head should be about 3/4 the length of the head. Based on where I've placed the bottom of the chin, the circle now is a bit wide. So I'll just draw a couple of lines trimming the sides of the head so that the width is approximately 3/4 the length of the head. I'll reshape the jawline just a bit, and this creates a simple or basic head shape. We can use this shape as a starting point for setting up how we'll fit the features and forms on the head. I'm going to go ahead and darken the lines just a little so that you can see them better. We'll start drawing the features by placing and sizing the eyes on the head, and in order to do this we need to measure some distances, and we'll use this head shape as our first proportional measurement, or more specifically we'll use the height of the head as our measurement. To guide us in establishing the head height, we can draw a line down the center of our head shape. We'll use this line to first find the position of the eyes along the length or the height of the head. I'll just draw a mark at the top and the bottom of this line to indicate the boundaries of this measurement. Since it spans the length of the head, we say that this measurement is equal to one head. In figure drawing, we often compare the size and position of the parts of the body to the head length, or as the guides call it, a head. So for example, the width of the shoulders can be 1.5 to 2 heads wide. Okay, let's place the eyes, and to do that we need to divide this line in half. This is because, as we've learned in the other video, the eyes sit at the halfway point of the length of the head. We can first estimate the halfway point and mark it. This mark just gives us something to compare the lengths to. We can then compare the lengths above and below this mark to make sure that we have accurate measurements. We can use the pencil to measure and compare the two distances. And as you can see, I compare the lengths of each half against the body of my pencil to make sure that the two distances are equal. If the two halves are equal, that's good, we're ready to move on. If not, that's okay too. We can just change the location of that mark and then measure again. Once the two distances are the same length, we're ready to draw a horizontal line. We draw that horizontal line through the head at the halfway mark. We call this line the eye line. We call it this because this is where we position the eyes, and this is our second important guideline. Again, just to remind us of the location of this line, it's at the center or middle of the head. I bring this up again because of something we learned in the last video. We want to make sure that we're using the head to find the location of the eyes and avoid some common mistakes. We need to avoid finding the length and the halfway point using the top of the head or the hairline, as this will distort our drawings. The top of the head is found between the hairline and the top of the hair. Unless the hair is closely cropped or pulled back against the head tightly, there's going to be some volume or mass to the hair. And if we're drawing from observation, we need to take this into account. We need to either find the top of the head or approximate it within the body of the hair. If we're drawing from our imagination, we just need to avoid using the top of the face or consider the mass of the hair when we draw it later on. Now we're ready to size the eyes, and to do that, we'll use the width of the head. As I mentioned earlier, the width of the head is about 3/4 the length of the head, but as we learned in a previous video, that head width is also equal to the width of 5 eyes, or we could say that the head is 5 eyes wide. If we take the distance from here and divide that into 5 equal parts, we'll find the approximate width of an eye for this head. One way to do this is to estimate a fifth of the width of the head and mark that at the center of the head, then start dividing the rest of that line into segments using that initial estimate. If that initial estimate is off, as I have here, we can just change the marks. After we do so, we can then again break up that line into 5 equal segments. Again, we can use the pencil to compare the lengths of each segment as we measure and mark them, and it's a good idea to double check those measurements as we use these segments to both set up the eye widths and the positioning of the eyes along the horizontal axis. The reason for this is because if something is off, then distortions can occur, and not only can these distortions show up in the eyes, but they can show up in the other features as well. This is because we use the eyes to size some parts of the face. Alright, so now that we've divided the width of the head into 5 equal segments, we're ready to draw some eyes. As we learned earlier, it's these center 3 segments that are the ones we'll use. We'll draw the eyes in the 2 segments that sit to the right and the left of the center segment. The tear ducts sit on the inner mark of each segment, and the outer edge of each eye lines up with the opposite mark. Let's talk a little bit about this center segment here. It represents the distance between the 2 eyes, and from this we can see that the distance between the eyes is equal to 1 eye. The space between the outer edge of the eye and the side of the head makes up our outer 2/5. The outer edges of the face fit somewhere within these segments. Alright, we've done all the work to set up where to draw the eyes, so let's go ahead and draw them. I'm going to go ahead and draw the eyes in this demo just to show how it all pays off, but I'm not really going to demonstrate how to draw an eye in this demonstration. Instead, I just want to demonstrate lining up the eye over the guidelines we just drew. I have the eye shapes drawn now, and we can see that each shape lines up to the guides. The eye shapes are centered across the horizontal line, and the outer edges of each shape touches the marks, indicating 1/5 of the width of the head. Alright, that's it for this demo. For the rest of this video, I'll just finish drawing some eyes. In this demonstration, we learned how to use the figure proportion guides to position and size the eyes as we draw. Something to remember when using these proportion guides is that they are not hard rules. They are, as the name suggests, guidelines. We'll find variation between individuals. When observing and drawing different people, we'll see variations in the size and placement of the eyes from person to person. These guides are still very beneficial, but we want to think of these guides as generalizations, not as rigid rules. We also haven't addressed the challenges of perspective yet, as there are some adjustments we need to do if we're drawing a head as seen from off-center. But if we know these guides, it will help us with those perspective concerns. Also, these guides work really well when aiming to draw realistically proportioned people. However, stylization is allowed. And as an example, we can find proportional guides that standardize the proportions of characters within different media, or we can even make up our own proportional guides for our own stylized illustrations. Now that we've walked through a drawing together, I encourage you to practice this on your own. Draw this simple head a few times, and when you do, work out the proportions and then draw the eyes. After you do a few of these practice drawings, you'll start to remember these guidelines. Have fun drawing. If you have any questions about what we just covered, please feel free to ask.